What if one missing piece of evidence could completely change the direction of the Nolan Wells investigation? Over the last 24 hours, several new developments have sparked fresh questions about what happened on Horn Island.
So the audio, regardless of what you think of the narrative being put forth, it's consistent with the narrative. Okay, so it's consistent with, as I've read in other articles and other interviews and videos, it's that Nolan went to this party with a first group of friends on this first boat. Some of the stories I've seen, there are two kind of narratives out there. One narrative is Nolan decided to stay behind when this first boat was leaving. This first boat seemed to acknowledge it was taking on water. I guess it was a rental boat, and they wanted to get it back to the mainland before they wouldn't be able to. So the first group of friends got on the boat and returned back without Nolan. That's one of the stories I've seen just from reports that have come out from friends, from other young adults that were there. And we can get into why he may have stayed, later. So now, just listening to the audio, there are some things that I notice are there and are not there. The caller seems relatively calm, and you don't hear anything going on in the background. These are all young adults. The reality is a young man is not with us anymore. And if you are unfortunate enough to witness something like that, that is traumatic. I mean, no one's ready for that. And you don't hear anyone fussing in the background. It's a very calm call. It's very quiet, saying, hey, we're taking on water. We're fine. We're coming back. Now, again, I'm not saying you have to accept what's being said, but the way it's being said, I don't know that these young adults, 18, 19-year-olds and partying, that they are equipped to fabricate a real-time event. And it's consistent with the narrative that the boat was taking on water, had issues, was brought back, docked, was taken out of dock, and then the owner of the boat is also cooperating with law enforcement. So if you are of the belief, if you accept that no one's still behind, the audio is consistent with that. And if you are unsure, which is very fair because a lot of the information evidence has not come out yet. If you're unsure, or if you just don't accept that, you think he was on the boat, it's such a quiet call that I can't rule anything out. I was not there. I'm an outside observer just like you. I can only analyze what's we're being fed. And because it's such an emotional event that's occurred, there's a lot of things at play here. Race, age, these are college kids, the community, so many things. I try to strip away the subjective stuff. I just look at it objectively. I try to just analyze it for what we have, not for what we think it is. The call is consistent with one of the narratives. We can all replay what's happened and say, you could have done this, you should have gone left when you went right. It's very easy for us to do that. I don't know why dispatch didn't ask the persons. What they did ask is everyone, 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, and the 6 or 7 seems to be that number. If it was 6 or 7, depending on if you believe Nolan was there. But was everyone okay? That answer came back, yes, everyone is fine. Now, to your point, maybe they should have asked, how big is the boat? How big is what kind of boat you want? Oh, I'm a dinghy. It's like a 4-person dinghy, or we're on a mini yacht or something, or it's a catamaran versus a single hull. But also maybe because they called it in, but ultimately did not receive assistance. Why didn't they receive assistance? A different question. But the boat made it back independently. It was taking on water. It appears, if you accept the call for what it is, they were giving notice, look, we're having trouble, we're making it back, but we're here, in case the scenario could have been now the boat gets stranded midway, right? And I don't know what the communication systems were on the boat, but those are good questions. Maybe because it's their protocol, because there was no one that was said to be injured or said to be in peril. There was no distress in the call. The dispatchers listening to it like we are. And because they had nothing more that they were asked to do, right? They could have gone, maybe to say, why didn't they go? You're right. These are kids on a boat. Send someone out anyway, right? That's what we pay tax dollars for. They didn't. And that's a fair question. And it would have helped to answer, was Nolan on the boat or not, right? It's a third party. Without someone else being there, we can't say for sure. Again, if you're questioning what's being given to us so far, we're asking these questions in part now because we've learned someone has passed. Someone's not with us anymore. It's an 18-year-old young man. That's tragic. But if it had just been the boat took on water and got back and we're not talking about it today, maybe no one questions why more wasn't done because it wasn't given as an emergency situation.
New information surrounding the boat's GPS timeline, the ongoing autopsy process, and statements from Nolan's family have once again pushed this case into the national spotlight. One of the biggest questions now is why both the official autopsy findings and the family's independent examination remain pending. The delay has fueled widespread speculation online, with many people wondering whether the final medical findings could answer critical questions about Nolan's death. At the same time, newly released GPS data has allowed the public to better understand the boat's movements on July 4th, leading to even more discussion about the timeline of events.
In the Nolan Wells case we've been following.
Yeah, our CBS News partners revealing some new GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, tracking the movements of the boat Nolan Wells was on before he disappeared July 4th.
Will Polston joins us now live from the boat launch with more details. Good morning to you, Will.
Hey, good morning, Bill and Brandy. Good morning, everybody joining us at home. That's right, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources releasing the GPS data of where the boat that Nolan Wells was on July 4th and its whereabouts on that day, just to kind of narrow down that timeline a little bit more. Here's what we know from the data. 9:56 a.m. the boat left land and then went towards Horn Island, which had arrived around 11:14 a.m. Then the GPS data says that the boat left the island around 4:31 p.m. before traveling into Fort Bayou and returning to the dock at 6:06. Later that night, the boat went to the boat launch here at Fort Bayou and was pulled out of the water and taken back to the owner's home in Biloxi. Now, a DMR report also says that the owner of the boat, his mother, and one other person with Wells are all cooperating with the investigation. Now, this doesn't necessarily point to one person or point to anything in particular, but now there's concrete evidence of when and where the boat was at what times. We have heard reports that the boys left the island right around at 4:30, and now that's starting to, that is being backed up now. We'll see exactly what this does for the investigation as time continues. Live in Ocean Springs, Will Polston, WLOX News Now.
Meanwhile, Nolan's mother has shared an emotional message thanking supporters for standing beside her family during this incredibly difficult time.
Hey, Boo Bears. I know you probably did not expect to see me, but I had to come on because I wanted to acknowledge all of your love, your support, your kindness that you guys have been showing me. I wanted to answer each and every one of you, and I probably will at some point. I will at some point, but right now it's just, everything is so heavy. Everything is so heavy. Just been going through the motions, I'm a healthcare provider, so I talk about grief a lot. And now to be on the other side of this is, it's a lot. Stuff. So I lost my mom a few years ago, and that was hard. This loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable. And then it's like you get these flood of emotions all at different times, and grief is so multi-layered. 1 second I might be okay and I can talk about things and I can listen to his stories, and then the next minute I am falling apart and I feel like I can't breathe, and I feel like there is an elephant just sitting on my chest. But I know this is the process. I have a wonderful support system. I have my faith in God, which I've been leaning heavy into. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I see you, I love you, I'm thankful for all of you, and I'm so sorry that I hadn't been able to reply. I don't know exactly when again I'll post. For some reason, it does help. And I know if Nolan was here, he'd be like, Mom, you know, just keep talking to the people, keep telling my story, keep telling your story. So that is going to be my plan. Again, thank you all so much. I love you, and I will talk to you later.
As investigators continue gathering evidence and the legal process moves forward, public attention remains fixed on what comes next. With so many unanswered questions still surrounding the case, every new update is being closely watched as people continue searching for clarity and accountability.